When we're playing any shot, particularly a full shot, we need to release the club properly. What on earth does that mean? Does that mean I need to let go of the club, or does it mean something different? This video is going to show you not only what happens, why it happens, but also how it can happen and help to control your shots. Hi, my name's Peter Knight. I've created this channel to help you play the best golf you possibly can. And if you hit the subscribe button and the grey bell notification icon, then you'll get a video every time I send one out. And hopefully we can go on a journey together to make your golf this year be the best it's ever been. We hear the term releasing the golf club as commonly as swing the club on plane and other terms that sort of seem to have a meaning, but often it's unclear what that meaning is. So what we're going to look at today is the term release the golf club, what it means, what's actually going on, and how we can allow it to occur more correctly. So first of all, when the club's approaching the ball, there'll be a point where it feels like the club suddenly gains speed. And that's the point that's sort of really called release. Now, if we just focus on that change of speed to begin with, because this is critical, and it's like something that happens with any lever system, and the golf club is a lever system. As I get the feeling of the club suddenly gaining speed, there's a corresponding slowing down of my arms. Now, I need to allow that to occur. Think of using a hammer. When I bring my arm down, my arm doesn't keep gaining speed until the head of the hammer hits the nail or whatever it is I'm going for. My arm will slow, transfers momentum to the hammerhead, and then the hammerhead works. If my arm doesn't slow, I don't get that momentum transfer. Golf swing's the same. So as the club's approaching the ball, that club will start to gain speed and my arms will slow. So I need to allow my arms slow to allow the club to gain speed, and I need to allow the club head to gain speed so my arms slow. So they work together. Now, depending on the timing of that, if that all occurs by manual manipulation or trying to prevent it, it's going to mess up the timing of that release. So that's the first thing. It's the gaining of speed by the club. The other things that happen is more to do with my wrists. So as the club's approaching the ball, my left wrist is going to begin to unhinge. And it's going to continue to unhinge until it gets past impact. And then as the club swings back, the wrist will rehinge. That's my left wrist. My right wrist, we can see here, is bent backwards. As it's swinging down, it'll begin to straighten out. It won't straighten out completely until after I've hit the ball, and then it'll swing through and bend again. So as the club's swinging back and through, my club's gaining speed and my wrists are unhinging. The third thing that happens, which is actually what squares the club face up, is that as my arms cross my body and the club head's catching up, the club face will square. Now that means that my forearms and my wrists and my hands feel like they're rolling over. Now it's the timing of all those things that gets the club to the ground where we want it to be. It gets the club face to the ball the way we want it to be, aiming at the target mostly, unless you're hitting a particular shot shape. And it's finding the timing so that you get your optimal power. I won't say maximal power because it's not a flat out movement, but optimal power for the shot you're hitting. It does take some practice. Now, a good way to start is if I hold the club in my right hand, in fact in the fingertips of my right hand, when I let the club swing back and move my arm forward, the club will naturally gain speed. When I close the fingers of my right hand and let that same movement occur, again, I'm not using my right hand, I'm just allowing momentum to occur. So I get the feel of that momentum transfer, club head gaining speed, my arm slowing down. And I can also note if the club hits the ground, where does it hit the ground? So I want to time it so that it's going to hit the ground and the ball at the same time. Then once I've got the feeling with fingertips and with one hand, then I can put two hands on the club and do the same thing. So I don't feel like there's a a manual manipulation as I go through. I'm not trying, as I said before, I'm not trying to prevent my wrists or the club from swinging freely, nor am I trying to work my wrists so the club gets to the ball with power. Both of those things, by the way, are very, very common. Now, what I can do is experiment a little bit to get the fine tuning and hit shots deliberately with the club face aiming slightly to the right of the target. So I still want to have the feeling of that release, but the timing of the release is such that when the club strikes the ball, the club face is squaring up, but it hasn't quite squared up to the target. It's aiming a little bit to the right. When I swing through, I can do the same thing and allow the club face to go beyond being square, so now it's aimed slightly to the left of the target, and so the ball should go left. When I can experiment with finding the boundaries of each of these things, it's so much easier to find middle ground. So if I set myself up, I'm going to allow the club to feel like it's releasing fairly freely, and the ball should fly nice and straight. It did. Now obviously I've had the advantage of knowing what to do and had plenty of practice with it, but you'll find is that you experiment with this, it's going to make a massive difference to your ability to hit the ball correctly and straight and with a good release.